Skipper here. So we made it to the 4th episode of the weekly update, and this one is quite interesting because we're going to have a bit of a deep dive into the developer QA stream that was done by Wargaming a few days ago, and of course a lot of other stuff. So hang on and we'll have a look. So first up, if you missed out on the exciting debate between Highcal King and myself this weekend, don't worry, Papa Nicholas, who runs the Back to Port podcast, is working on mixing a podcast at the moment. So just stay tuned and you'll be able to listen to the whole hour of debate. And it was a good debate and I really enjoyed it. And yeah, thank you, Papa Nicholas, for making this possible. So the next thing is that in store, you are now able to buy the Halloween stuff. And yeah, I guess that's nice. I don't think there's much interesting stuff in there, to be honest. And I'll go through the commanders after this, and then just to give you an idea of what I would consider spending money on, which isn't a lot, actually. So first up, the Ognavoy Russian destroyer is available for doubloons, instead of a long, tireless grind like it was in the beginning. And I'm not sure how people who actually ground out this destroyer will feel about it being just available for doubloons now, but I guess we'll see. Next up, you can buy the extremely terrible Tier 6 cruiser CHARLEMAGNE for 15,000 doubloons, and you get the even more terrible weird Egyptian camo with it. And this is the most arbitrary and random inclusion in the game that I have no idea why it's even there. But yeah, you can get it if you want. Alright, so one of the Halloween commanders I would consider spending money on is this guy here, Henry Hyde. And it's because in the second row here he has Porcupine along with the gyrating drill pits and the Alidat skill. And all of these three skills are great, and they allow you to build for secondaries like primaries or for AP penetration, which is really good. So you can pick and choose pretty much, and you can also access all the heals. So he's a pretty good all-round commander, and he allows any build more or less, really. So if you don't have him, I would consider him. Just keep in mind that he doesn't have will to rebuild. That's a bit of a downside to him, but the only one really. Alright, next up is Helsinger, and I really never warmed up to this guy. As you can tell, I haven't put any resources into him. The base trade seems okay, but is it worth it? In my opinion, no. So I haven't really spent any effort on this guy. The next one here, though, is pretty good. Einstein here. And if you like ingenious skill, but you don't want to do an agile build, this guy is your man. He's probably one of the best US cruiser commanders, I think, unless you go full agile build like I do. And you can see he gives access to pretty much anything. You want ingenious or you want range, you can choose between both. You want a punch through or you want sponge, you can choose between both. And also he has better dispersion here. What he's lacking though is an extra consumable, and I think that's a bit of a problem on especially the radar cruisers where you miss out on a radar, and that's primarily why I don't use him. I like to have an extra radar and an extra heal. Alright, next up is Blue FURIORA, and the next three commanders, when we got them in the beginning from Wargaming, like when I was a community contributor, they were level 12-2, so I've already tested them out pretty high level, and like the mosquito skill here is interesting. Yeah, good for a torp build, but then again she only works on the German cruisers, on German DDs, so I haven't put any resources into her. Perhaps I will do later for some speed builds on destroyers, but then again, I don't know, I don't think it's worth it. So Splendento here I used for a while on Tashkent, but as you can see I haven't put any of my own resources into him, because I don't think he's worth it. The Iron Shot perk is good. It pretty much removes the risk of your engine getting taken out, but my engine rarely gets taken out on Tashkent after Wargaming buffed it, which is probably around a year ago now. So I don't see much point in this guy here. So MORDOFF here, also I haven't spent a single resource on him because I don't think he's worth it. The base skill is kind of good, but if you put this guy on a Fletcher build, for example, the improved reload you're going to get is so small that I don't think it's worth it. So his sheltered arms perk here is quite good actually. It takes out pretty much the risk of your guns becoming incapacitated. They can still be destroyed, but they can't be taken out of action for a while. You have to make him 16-4 for it to be complete though, so it's a bit of an investment. Alright, we're moving on to the next subject now, and this is the developer Q&A that was streamed last week, and I thought that was really interesting, and I wish the guys would do it more often than once a year. But anyway, we got to hear what Kirill, the lead development director here, was pretty much thinking, I guess. And a big thank you to Rowan HKC for actually transcribing this interview into text, which is a lot easier to go through this way. I don't know you, man, but thanks a lot for doing this. And thanks for Chili Game 17 for making me aware of this. So let's just go through some of the more interesting questions here. And the first one is if we'll be able to get our own ports. And I read this one as a no. I know he says 2022, but I doubt it'll happen. So the next one is actually my own question that I asked on Discord. And finally, it looks like something is actually happening on the expanded player statistics area. So I'm reading this as we might see this sometime this year. Of course, can't be sure, but I hope so. And I guess Wargaming is getting really tired of people doing GDPR requests to get their stats. Another big one is the clan battles here, and it also looks that something is actually happening here as well. At least development is ongoing. And it'll be like we rolled out in two parts. One where you can actually enter a clan and get some benefits from that. And then later, probably next year, the actual clan battles will be rolled out. So this is good news. It's not as good as I hoped it would be, but it's still good news. So this next question here made me laugh. It's about secondaries on battleships, and if you ever wondered if a secondary build was worth it, then you can read out from this one here that it's not. Even the lead developer says that the secondaries are not great and they're not awful, but not great as well. So I think that tells you everything you need to know. Okay, next up is sap shells for the Italians. And it actually looks like we might get it, but it looks like it'll be added to the premium ships first to test it out, I guess, and then perhaps later down the line it'll be added to the tech tree ships. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that, so hoping it'll actually materialize. So I included this question here about items added to the forge because there's an interesting admission here, and it seems that the steel income is not big enough for players in the game. And that's not surprising to me because, for example, personally I don't play arena and I don't play the modes that gives you a lot of steel. So I get most of my steel by buying out the campaigns actually, and I have less than 5,000 I think. Alright, this next one is a question that comes up a lot, and I actually don't want this because it really means that you only need enough resources to expand, like to fully upgrade one commander, and then you can just switch them around as you please. Some people, myself included, have invested heavily into resources. So if this becomes a thing, I think there will be a lot of angry players out there. And also, I think that the resources is a part of the monetization feature of the game. So I don't think that this will ever become a reality. So the next question here pretty much confirms that we'll get more maps, which is great. More maps is always good, and I agree there. So I'm looking forward to that, and especially the open sea map. ocean. I'm really looking forward to that. Alright, let's finish off with some news on legendary ships. And it looks like they're going to change the way you can unlock legendary ships, which is great because, yeah, the bureau is getting a little bit stale. And of course, if you put all the secrets and spoilers together here, then it looks like we'll get Montana and Minotaur probably at the end of this year, I think, so people can research them in time for Christmas. That's my guess. I'm also very happy to see that RV4 is pretty much confirmed. Don't know when, but it's sure to be included in the game at some point. And continuing down that, Des Moines, not this year. So for those of you waiting for that, you'll have to be patient. Okay, let's finish up this update here with some great games. And you guys have been sending me a lot of good games, and it's really hard to pick. But I picked a few for this video here. The first one is this Yamato game here, where Big's daddy got a Kraken, Confederate, and High Caliber and 240,000 damage. And that's what I call the trifecta. And yeah, it pretty much means that you've had an awesome game. So next one here is by Ludicrous Speed, 265,000 damage, and Witherer, Confederate, and High Caliber. Also a very, very good battle in the Clever. Sees 7 detected ships as well, and 4 captures, pretty crazy. And 4,125 base XP. That is really, really good. Alright, and from the ranked season we have this München game here of more than 300,000 damage. And I realize it's ranked and it includes health boosts and all that stuff, but nevertheless it's quite good. Okay, next up we have a very impressive Ocha Cup battle here from Mesur 12, and look at all the medals he raked in, 6 kills, and very good all-round performance here. And if we have a look at his XP, it's also just out of this world at nearly 4,800. Like extremely good battle, this one here, one of the highest I've seen. So moving on to an Iowa battle here, and at first you might think, what's special about this? But if you look at the captures, that's what I like. This is Ludicrous Speed again, and he's actually been capturing a lot in his big fat battleship, and I love to see that. So great game there. Alright, so that was the 4th episode of the community update, and I hope you liked it. Yeah, just stay tuned for next week where there will be another one.